Hello students, this is the second bone that we are studying after the femur as a revision. So this one is the tibia. It is the bone, medial bone of the leg. It is one of the strong bone of the lower limb. This bone plays an important role, especially in the weight bearing of the body. All the weight of our body falls on tibia, then to the talus and to calcaneus and to the ground, coming from the femur. So this bone, as all of you know, tibia is the medial bone and strongest bone of the leg. As it is long bone, it has upper end, shaft and lower end. Superiorly, this bone articulates with the respective, these two condyles. This is of a right sided tibia. I will tell you the side determination of this bone, how to determine the side and how will you justify the side determination of the tibia. In your practice life, this bone is of utmost important because common site of this bone is a lower 1/3 of the shaft is a common site of this bone to get fractured, and sometimes the lower end of this bone glides over anteriorly, never posteriorly. That is location of the ankle joint. So this bone forms four joints. Basically there are four joints. So these are two condyles. इसको हाँ बिट्टाच्या फोनवर फोन कर मी काम. So this bone is one of the bone that gets fractured commonly at the lower 1/3. So you observe this bone, the superior aspect, inferior aspect, the lateral aspect of this bone. This is the lateral aspect, this is the medial aspect, this one is the anterior, and observe the bone from the posterior aspect. Now you observe the bone keenly, very keenly. You have to hold the bone like this. If it is of right sided, you have to hold it in right hand. If it is of left sided, you have to hold it in left hand. Very simple technique. So secondly, the side determination, we will see side determination lastly after getting know. This lecture is exclusively or more to be important for to those who were absent for the demonstration of the bone tibia, and you may revise the bone. You may revise the bone. 2 marks question may be asked. The knee joint may be asked, ankle joint may be asked. In your practical life, in your clinical practice, this bone is important. That's why for to those who were absent, who have not cautiously gone through the tibial bone, you please carefully listen this bone. So this bone makes four joints. Superiorly, it articulates with the respective condyle of the femur to form the knee joint. So this is of right sided, it's a medial malleolus. These are two condyles. Expanded part of this upper end is called as a condyles. This one is a lateral condyle and this one is a medial condyle. See, lateral condyle and medial condyle. See the superior aspect of the lateral condyle. There is a smooth articular area and smooth articular, rough non-articular area. Rough non-articular area. You observe it cautiously. Then this bone makes knee joint. Secondly, on a posterior aspect of the lateral condyle, the head of the fibula gets articulated to form the superior tibiofibular joint, and inferiorly the lateral aspect of the lower end, there is a fibular notch which gives articulation to the lower end of the fibula to form the inferior tibiofibular joint, and here is the superior tibiofibular joint. Here the superior tibiofibular joint. Okay, now knee joint, superior tibiofibular joint, inferior tibiofibular joint. Then this is the articular surface. This is the inferior aspect of the lower end, which articulate with the talus of the tarsal bone to form the ankle joint. Knee joint, superior tibiofibular joint, inferior tibiofibular joint, and ankle joint. These are the 4 joints this bone forms. This bone plays an important role in the bearing whole weight of our body. This is the bone of the leg. Okay, now the bone is being divided into 3 parts. As all of you know, the long bone has upper end, shaft, and lower end. Upper end is expanded. It is very easy to identify the side of this bone on the basis of the condyles. Okay, now this superior aspect is important to identify the side of this bone. I will tell you the clue how to determine the side, whether the bone is left-sided, right-sided, or left-sided. Okay, at the end. So first of all, the description of the upper end. You observe upper end is expanded, bears lateral condyle and medial condyle. Condyles are the expanded parts of the upper end. The condyles are further divided into articular area and non-articular area. This is a smooth articular area which articulate with the lateral condyle of the femur, and this is the smooth articular area for the articulation of the medial condyle of the femur. Okay, now to the posterior aspect of the lateral condyle, posterior inferiorly, there is a smooth passage for articulation of the head of the fibula to form the superior tibiofibular joint. And on the medial aspect, on the lateral aspect of the lower end, here is the articulation of the lower end of the fibula to form the inferior tibiofibular joint. Okay, now this condyle superior aspect is divided into articular and non-articular. You see, you observe the medial and lateral condyle of the tibia. The medial condyle is larger, little bit larger than the lateral condyle. You observe medial condyle is little bit larger than the lateral condyle, and it is superior aspect is divided into articular and non-articular. Articular, which is smooth throughout the life. The condyles of the femur articulates here to the tibia to form the knee joint. Then on the anterior aspect of this tibia, there is a prominent tibial tuberosity. This tibial tuberosity, this is a tibial tuberosity. It is prominent in Indian peoples because ligamentum patellis attached here. It is Asiatic and Indian people. I have already clarified you previously that our Indian people's latrine habit is to sit down, and Western people's partially they bend and they don't fully sit. So there is a stretching of the tibial tuberosity daily of the Indian people due to our latrine habit. So this is prominent in the Indian. It is mentioned. This one is the tibial tuberosity, where the ligamentum patelli. What is ligamentum patelli? It is a continuation of the quadriceps femoris muscles. Quadriceps femoris muscles are the muscles of the anterior compartment of the thigh, other than the sartorius. They are vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, vastus medialis, and rectus femoris. these muscles are inserted on the tibia, but some of the fibers continue downward and is attached to the tibial tuberosity, and the continuation of the fibers from the patella of these quadriceps femoris muscles downward is called as the ligamentum patelli. Okay, now you observe the articular and non-articular areas. The articular area and non-articular area is the intercondylar area. The intercondylar area, this is non-articular area, and it bears small elevations, small tubercles. Tubercles are there on the intercondylar area. Small tubercles are there. See, there are non-articular, articular smooth area and remaining non-articular area. Now you observe the articular area of the medial condyle is oval. It is oval in shape, and the articular area of the lateral condyle is circular. So this is the difference between the articular areas of the lateral and medial condyle. On the anterior inferior aspect of the junction of the shaft with the upper end is called as the tibial tuberosity. Upper part of the tibial tuberosity is rough, while the lower part is roughened. Upper is rough and lower is smooth. Then these are the important features. You observe keenly the superior aspect of the articular, non-articular areas and intercondylar areas. The margins of these articular surfaces gives attachment to the meniscus of the knee joint, medial meniscus and lateral meniscus. And in the intercondylar areas, there is an articulation of the anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments of the knee joint. Okay, you observe keenly, this is a smooth facet for articulation of the head of the fibula. You observe the number of small foramens are there to the anterior aspect. These are called as the vascular foramens. These are important features of the upper end. Again revise: medial condyle, lateral condyle, articulating facet for articulation of the fibular facet, for articulation of the head of the fibula, tibial tuberosity. These are the main important features of the upper end. Now the shaft. Shaft is the portion in between the upper end and lower end. In a cross section, the shaft. You observe this shaft. Shaft is prismoid in shape. Shaft in a cross section, it is like a prism. It is like a prism. Shaft is prismoid in shape. The shaft is portion that connects the upper end with the lower end. The shaft is divided into medial, lateral and posterior surfaces are there, and there is a anterior border. The anterior border. This is the anterior border of the shaft. It ends at the anterior aspect of the medial. This is medial malleolus, a bony prominence on the medial aspect of the lower end. This is anterior border. It starts from the tibial tuberosity, runs downward, and it is prominent, ends in the anterior aspect of the medial malleolus. Then the lateral border is also called as interosseous border. It ends at the posterior aspect of the fibular notch. This is a fibular notch for articulation of the lower end of the fibula with the tibia. inferior tibiofibular joint. Then the medial border starts medial aspect of the medial condyle, runs downward and ends at the posterior aspect of the medial malleolus. So obviously it has three surfaces. The medial surface, see, you can touch your medial surface, it is subcutaneous. All of this surface is under cover of the skin only, no muscles are there. Surface in between the anterior border and medial border is a medial surface. Surface in between the interosseous, surface in between the interosseous border, surface in between the interosseous border or lateral border and the anterior border is called as a lateral surface. You observe, this is a lateral surface, this is a medial surface. Now the surface in between the interosseous border and the medial border is called as a posterior surface. You observe the posterior surface of the tibia. Here is a oblique line. This oblique line on the posterior surface, a short oblique line, is called as a soleal line. The muscle soleus is originated, the tibial fibers of the soleus gets originated from the soleal line. Above the posterior surface, small area. Posterior surface is further divided into small triangular area above the soleal line and large area below the soleal line. The large area below the soleal line is divided by a vertical ridge into medial and lateral. Medial and lateral. Medial is larger. Vertical ridge is there for further lateral and medial dividation of the lower large area of the posterior surface of the tibia. Then on a on the lateral surface, surface in between the anterior border and interosseous border, just posterior to the interosseous border on the posterior surface, this is nutrient foramina. It is directed downward. So growing end of this bone is lower end. This bone grows in a downward direction. Okay. Now I again revise. The shaft is prismoid in shape. It has three borders: anterior border, then anterior border ends into the medial. It ends into the anterior aspect of the medial malleolus. Interosseous border, you may say a lateral border, which is sharp, and the medial border. It starts from the posterior aspect of the medial condyle, runs downward and ends into the posterior aspect of the medial condyle, and interosseous border ends into the posterior aspect of the fibular notch. So three surfaces: the medial surface, lateral surface and posterior surface. Posterior is further divided by soleal line into smaller upper, larger lower. Larger lower is further divided by a vertical ridge into larger medial and smaller lateral areas of the posterior surface. Okay, three borders, three surfaces. Then the nutrient foramen, and this is the common site of the fracture. Commonly tibia gets fractured here. Commonly it gets fractured here, and sometimes the nutrient foramina may be below to that at the lower, and there may be rupture. Chances of the rupture of the in this bone, the nutrient foramina is above, but it may be here in the lower junction of the upper 2/3 and lower 1/3. A common site of the, because this bone is most weak part of this bone is this. सगळ्यात अशक्त भाग हा असतो, सगळ्यात thin part or the thinnest part of this bone is this, and commonly it cannot bear shock or the weight and it gets break. So there may be most prone chance to fracture is this junction of the upper one third and lower one, upper two third and lower one third. So this is about the shaft. Shaft is prismoid in shape. Now the lower end. You observe the lower end cautiously. The lower end bears 5 surfaces: anterior surface, posterior surface, then the lateral surface, medial surface, and inferior surface. Again revise. Lower end of the tibia bears 5 surfaces: anterior surface, posterior surface, lateral surface, medial surface, and inferior surface, and one process. That process is medial malleolus. This medial malleolus is a downward bony prominence of the lower end, and the inferior surface of the tibia articulates with the talus to form the ankle joint. Inferior surface is grooved inferiorly and it is grooved inferiorly. It gets articulated with the superior surface of the talus to form the ankle joint, and it forms one more joint, that is inferior tibiofibular joint at the lateral aspect of the lower end, inferior tibiofibular joint. So these are the important features. Malleolus, lower end has 5 surfaces and the fibular notch. These are the, and inferior surface is almost articular, so it is smooth. Now the side determination of this bone. Side determination. If you don't know the side of this bone, first of all hold it either in right hand or in left hand. Now how to determine the side? Superior and inferior. Upper end of this bone is expanded. Hold the bone and do the condyles above. So upper end is there. Now how to detect anterior and posterior? Anteriorly there is a tibial tuberosity. Anterior. You can easily determine the side, and if you are not able to determine the anterior tibial tuberosity, you see the posteriorly there is a nutrient foramina by which you can also determine the side. Secondly, how to determine medial and lateral? Medial malleolus is medially, and laterally there is a fibular notch. If you are still doubtful, you can see the posterior aspect of the lateral condyle. There is a smooth articular facet for articulation of the head of the fibula to form the superior tibiofibular joint. Okay. Now these are the clues. Superior, inferior condyles are there. And how to detect anterior and posterior? By tibial tuberosity. How to detect medial and lateral? Medial malleolus is medially and fibular notch is laterally, by which you can determine the side of this bone. Next part of this study is attachments. Attachments is of utmost importance, especially for the clinical practice. First of all, the ligamental attachment and a membranous attachments. This is a line of demarcation. You see this ligamental attachment is shown by green color. This one is a line of demarcation of a attachment of the capsular ligament of the knee joint. This is a attachment of the capsular ligament. All of these structures remain inside intracapsular. These are the intracapsular structures. Now this is a facet for articulation of the head of the fibula. The margin of this facet, see, the margin of this facet will give attachment to the capsular ligament of the superior tibiofibular joint. Now anteriorly, this is a tibial tuberosity, the ligamentum patelli. It is one of the strongest ligament of the lower end, lower one of the strongest after tendocalcaneus. Tendocalcaneus is the strongest tendon, but this is the strongest ligament is attached to the tibial tuberosity. These are the ligaments attached to the upper end. Then at the margin of this articular surface there is an attachment of the lateral meniscus. Lateral meniscus is attached to the margin of the articular surface and to the margin of the lateral surface. Lateral surface is medial meniscus. Then here is the attachment of the anterior cruciate ligament and posterior cruciate ligament of the knee joint. Then this is interosseous border. This interosseous border will give attachment to the interosseous joint in between the tibia and fibula. You see, this is the sharp interosseous border which gives attachment to the interosseous membrane in between the tibia and fibula. Okay, now the capsular ligament of the inferior tibiofibular joint is attached to the margin of the fibular notch. Capsular ligament of the inferior tibiofibular joint shown in green color. Then the capsular ligament of the ankle joint. This is a line of demarcation of a capsular ligament of the ankle joint is attached here. Capsular ligament of the ankle joint is attached. This is the line of demarcation of a capsular ligament of the ankle joint. This is interosseous membrane in between tibia and fibula. Capsular ligament of the superior tibiofibular joint. This is a capsular ligament of the knee joint. Anterior horn of the anterior cruciate ligament, posterior cruciate ligament. Medial anterior horn of the medial meniscus, posterior horn of the medial meniscus, anterior horn of the lateral meniscus and posterior horn of the lateral meniscus. Okay, now these are the ligamental and membranous attachments of the tibia. Now the main important muscles, they are inserted on the anterior and posterior aspect of the tibia. This one here is the one more thing, that is iliotibial tract. Iliotibial tract, that is nothing but we have already seen the iliotibial tract. They are the fibers. They are form continuation of the fibers of the muscle gluteus maximus and the muscle that origin on the crest of the hip bone, that is iliac crest. These two muscle fibers comes together to form a single tract, and that is inserted here on the anterior aspect of the lateral condyle iliotibial tract. Here is the attachment of the ligamentum patelli. Then on the lateral surface of the now I'll show you with red color, upper half of the lateral surface will give origin to the tibialis anterior. Tibialis anterior muscle gets originated from there. Then no muscles gets originated or gets inserted on the lower 1/3 of the tibia. The tendons of the four muscles passes downward in front of the ankle joint, like this, like this. So these tendons from the medial to lateral is a tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and peroneal tertius. These are the tendons of the four muscles of the lower end passing from the anterior aspect of the lower end. Now the posterior aspect, and one more, there is a deep peroneal nerve and dorsalis pedis artery passes anterior to the lower end, anterior aspect of the lower end. Now the posterior aspect, there is a from the posterior aspect, no muscles get originated or inserted to the lower one-third of the posterior aspect and shaft. Lower one-third of the shaft and posterior aspect, but three tendons of the posterior compartment muscles, deep muscles of the leg passes behind. They are tibialis, they are the tibialis posterior, then the flexor hallucis longus, then the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus. Again revise, flexor hallucis longus, tibialis posterior, and flexor digitorum longus. These are the deep flexors of the leg, and anteriorly tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and peroneal tertius. These four tendons passes. No muscles are attached here, either get inserted or originated, and even from the lower end of the tibia. Now from the posterior aspect, the muscle from the posterior aspect, see here is you see here the posterior aspect of the first one is the I will show you semimembranosus, insertion of the semimembranosus here. Then obliquely, just about to the soleal line, above the soleal line, there is this is the insertion of the muscle popliteus, and on the soleal line there is a origin of the muscle soleus. Then on either side, laterally, there is a tibialis posterior, origin of the tibialis posterior. Laterally there is a origin. This is a lateral aspect of the posterior side. Laterally there is a tibialis posterior, and medially flexor digitorum longus. This is flexor. Tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, soleus, and popliteus. And posteriorly, here is the semimembranosus. Then one more thing is remained here from the anterior aspect. Here there are three gyropes. They are sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus. These three muscles are inserted here they are inserted on the lateral condyle. Sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus. They are inserted on the anterior aspect of the lateral condyle here. They are collectively called as gyropes. Insertion of sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus, and on the posterior aspect of the medial condyle there is a insertion of the muscle semimembranosus. Here is the insertion of the muscle semimembranosus. Yeah. So these are the muscles. 5 muscles originated: tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, then soleus. These are the muscles. They get originated, only 4 muscles originated from the tibia, remaining all are inserted. Inserted muscles are sartorius, gracilis, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, popliteus. These are the muscles inserted on the tibia. Muscle tendons of the muscle passing anterior aspect of the lower end and posterior aspect of the lower end, deep from the posterior, deep flexors of the leg, and anterior compartment muscles of the leg passes anteriorly from medial to lateral, tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and peroneal tertius, and from the posterior aspect I again revise, flexor digitorum longus, then tibialis posterior and flexor hallucis longus. These are the 3 deep muscles of the back of the leg. Now, the clinical anatomy. I have already told the shaft. Shaft is commonly gets fractured at the junction of the upper 2/3 and lower 1/3. And this upper end is a common site of the knee joint, is a common site of the osteomyelitis. Then the tibia is commonly fractured here at the junction of the shaft is commonly fractured. Then the forward dislocation of the lower end, forward dislocation from the glide score via talus, like this. So it is commonly dislocated. Dislocation is very common by strong falling during the jumping, and this bone may get suffered from the upper end. Osteomyelitis is a common site of the bone. Myelination gets affected, infected. Osteomyelitis is a common site of the upper end, common site of the fracture, but not necessary. It may get, depends on the contusion, where the contusion is there, but commonly this is the weakest point. It gets fractured commonly here. Then gliding over or dislocation of this bone. Okay, thank you. Pause.